Hi, class. Welcome to Chapter 9. Chapter 9, we're going to get into motivating employees. I think the most important factor that a business owner or a company endures is having to understand what motivates their employees. There's a series of things you can go through and do to motivate them, and there's a lot of theories out there that we'll cover that actually shows you how to motivate your employees. Some of the learning objectives we'll try to cover will be to explain Taylor's theory of the scientific aspect behind management. We'll describe the Hawthorne studies and their significance to management. We'll get into identifying the levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs and apply them to employee motivation. How are they really applied? I love the hierarchy of needs because it really shows if you meet all of those needs, employees hopefully will be satisfied. They will work stronger and better, and you have some continuity in your staffing. We're going to distinguish between the motivators and hygiene factors identified by uh, Herzberg. Hertzberg. I knew I was going to say that wrong. And we're going to determine the difference among theory X, theory Y, and theory Z. More of the learning objectives will be explaining the key principles of goal setting, expectancy, reinforcement, and equity theories. I love equity theories. Show how managers put motivational theories and motivation theories into action through such strategies as job enrichment, open communication, and job recognition. We're going to actually show how managers personalize motivation strategies to appeal to employees across the globe and across generations. Rosa Marcari, she is the CEO of Patagonia. Rose Marcarari, I don't know why butchering her name, studies business and she earned an MBA and working in executive roles in several California businesses. She quit her job and traveled through India and actually went to Nepal and studied Buddhism to be a Buddhist. Wow, for 2 years. She chose to work for Patagonia in 2008 because of its commitment to ecological and social causes. That's pretty nice. It's nice when you can choose a job that hopefully is aligning with your beliefs and your moral values and so forth. So Patagonia, I should say, employees enjoy generous perks, and Marcario believes these benefits boost productivity and improve morale. A lot of companies, and I've covered several chapters that talk about companies reinforcing, let's say, motivational spirit. Google, Facebook, there's a lot of companies that say, we're going to make sure the employees are happy, well taken care of, and I think we'll have employees for life. So let's try to name this company. Recognition is important to most employees. This company introduced an oddly named yet prestigious honor. The award was created when an employee solved a problem and the manager grabbed a banana from his lunch. This was the very first Golden Banana Award. Can you name that company? Is a company that you don't talk a lot about because of the fact they're behind the scenes and they provide equipment for companies. You don't see them advertising a lot, I should say. But it's Hewlett Packard. Wow. Which of the following is an intrinsic reward? Praise from your manager, pride in your performance, a praise of a raise or a pay raise, a promotion. So of course it's B, pride in your performance. Intrinsic is a value that's within yourself that you believe that you are going to do a job that's well done because of how you feel. Intrinsic. The value of motivation. I'm a firm believer in this. 20 years in the United States Navy, 21 years working for Southwestern College, and I believe you have to motivate from sailors to students in order for them to succeed. So workers' job satisfaction, basically, happy workers can lead to happy customers, which leads to successful businesses. I like what that says because if you go into some retail stores, namely Walmart, you don't see happy customers. You don't see happy employees. I don't know what the management theme is there, but I have never seen a Walmart employee that goes, "Hi, welcome to Walmart. How can we help you?" I've seen them go in other directions. I've seen them look the other way. I've seen them say, "This is not my section. I don't know where that product is." So, happy workers can lead to happy customers. If you have your own company, think about that. And here's the important value behind motivating your employees. They're going to want to actually do a good job. Unhappy workers are likely to leave, which is costly. A couple of chapters ago, we talked about turnovers. We talked about hiring and firing in our HR slides. The most important thing to do is hire a employee. More importantly and more expensive is when you let them go, because then you have to start the hiring process all over again, and you lose the continuity. Engagement, employees' level of motivation, passion, and commitment. That's engagement. How often are they engaging with fellow customers? I'm sorry, with fellow employees, with customers. Um, it's also one of those things where you see if they're unhappy at work, it will undermine the efforts of their coworkers. I always tell people leave your problems at home when I had my companies. So, in essence, disengaged employees really show when they're not happy, and that's not what you want. Employee experiences, the level of satisfaction at every step along the path allows employees to have a better pathway with your company. The value of motivation. What motivates people? Intrinsic rewards. Me, I think it's just me though, but I get giddy when I'm on time. I get excited when I arrive to work early. I get extremely happy when I get things accomplished. That's my intrinsic value. That's something inside of me that I really feel good that I'm accomplishing things. This is the personal satisfaction you feel when you perform well and complete goals. It's exactly how I feel. I have this intrinsic value. I'm a clean freak. I'd love to have my office very organized and clean. My home. That's just something about me. It's pride in my performance when I get projects done, or when I do a great PowerPoint for my students, or when I see students graduating. I'm at graduation every year and I give the award, the degrees to my students. And it's just phenomenal when you see them walk across the stage. And I had something to do with that, a little part, because the students, it's on them to graduate. It's on you to graduate. But to see them actually walk across the stage, that's phenomenal. And then it's a sense of achievement. I felt like I must have done something right if that student walked across the stage. Extrinsic rewards, basically, you got intrinsic and extrinsic. Extrinsic rewards is something given to you by someone else as recognition of your good work. Pay raises, people love that. Praise, a little pat on the back. I think that's the most important thing sometimes when you walk through, let's say if it's your own company or even if it's a job that you work at, just say, hey, how's it going? Hey, I saw yesterday you organized, the bookshelves. They look great. Thank you. They're easier to find things or whatever. Just give her a little praise sometime to your fellow employees. It'll go a long way. And sometimes, when you say, hey, how you doing? How's your day going? Stop and listen for their response. Maybe they're not having a great day. The worst thing you can do is not hear what someone said and give an unfavorable response like, hi, yeah, I'm doing good, KL, but my mom died yesterday. You go, oh, great to hear that. Okay, see you later. That's when you realize that person is never going to care about you ever again because of the fact that you never really listened to what they were trying to say. And also another way that you get rewards is promotions. It's nice when you work to a level, and if you want, let's say a leadership role, it's great to have a promotion. You went from cashier at McDonald's to a trainer at McDonald's, say to a shift leader and so forth and so on. So those are the moments where you see employees can be motivated with extrinsic rewards. Intrinsic rewards again is one important type of motivator is intrinsic, which is the inner feeling, how you feel about things for yourself, which includes the personal satisfaction you feel for a job well done. People who respond to such inner promoting often enjoy their work and share their enthusiasm with others because that's contagious. If you love what you do, some people say, why does he love it so much? It must be something that I'm missing, and then you're going to want some of that. When I talk to professors and they say, I teach only online, I can't handle going to the classroom. That's the opposite for me. I love teaching in the classroom because you can get the tone, the feeling, the energy from me in the classroom. My background, I think you probably saw my Instagram or you may have seen, my resume, but I am a professional stand-up comedian. I've also been an actor for years and I have my own talk show in Tokyo. And so I'm always, in my opinion, performing for my students. So if I don't make you laugh, if I don't make you smile, if you don't walk out of my class with your stomach hurting from like laughing so much, I haven't done my job. That goes back to my intrinsic value. I can't stop smiling when I see students learning. The value of motivation. Frederick Taylor, the father of the scientific management, it's science behind management, he feels. Scientific management basically is studying workers to find the most effective and or efficient way of doing things and then teaching people those techniques. So he looks at a process and he says, this is probably the most effective way to get this particular job done. A good example of this is when we were visited years upon years ago. The folks from Japan visited Detroit. They wanted to see how we made cars. Now, they already started making cars in Japan, but they wanted to see what we did. So, going back to the scientific approach, they saw that we were, well, first of all, they gave them a tour of the huge warehouses that we made the cars in, the production, right? So they went, and the Japanese said, hey, so where is the chassis of the car? Like, where is the essence of the car, the body, right? They said, oh, it's in building number 5. And then the Japanese went ahead and said, okay, can you take us there? And they said, okay, where is the engine? Oh, that's in building number 4. They said, oh, well, when it's all done, where do you paint the car at? Oh, that's over in building number 2. And the Japanese stopped immediately and they said, why don't you have all of this in one place, like an assembly line? And you have the car start at the beginning, the chassis, the engine, the seats. Because what happens is all those people who are on the assembly line are talking to one another. Hey, I think this is not going to fit. I've got a bigger piece, and that looks like it's a smaller piece that needs to be put in the car. And then it is more efficient. And that's what changed Detroit. Production lines, they made them actually an assembly line in one big, huge warehouse. So again, people look at things in a more scientific way. The Japanese look things at things in a way to say, how is it efficient? If it's not efficient, they want to change it. So 3 key elements to increase productivity is time, method of work, rules of work. Now, what do you think rules of work mean? How you do it? Got to be on time, safety. It's all part of increasing productivity. So, in other words, when do you get a break? When you not get a break? Can you, like, let's say, put the wrong part in? That's all covered in the 3 elements for increasing productivity. So, Taylor's 4 key principles. Study how a job is performed. This is Taylor. Gather time and motion information. Check different methods. Now, here's something you have to think about. This is old school theory and practices. Now we're doing things that are so automated, a lot of this won't apply. Check different methods. Once you have it automated, you don't need to see any other method. You find a method that works. You're going to codify the best method into rules. Choose workers whose skills match the rules. Establish a fair level of performance and pay, I should say. So that's when you stop and say, wait, this is a great initial principle. It's 4, right? We get that. But how can you apply that to AI? So even though I'm teaching this, and this is some current information, more current information keeps developing. So we have a ever evolving theory behind motivating employees. Can you motivate AI? No. Frederick Taylor, the father of the scientific management, continued, time motion studies, in other words, studies of which tasks must be performed to complete a job, etc. In other words, how long will it take to accomplish something? Um, FedEx as well as UPS, they are, let's say, using this scientific approach. And they actually tell their drivers exactly what to do, when to do, and how to do it. I had a friend who worked for UPS. He says they train us right down to how we're supposed to put our key in the ignition of the trucks. I'm like, what difference does that make? They said all the difference in the world. If you put the key in backwards of whatever, it takes too long to fumble and bumble, you haven't started the truck and you haven't got on to your next delivery. And they are timed. One gentleman, he loads the truck and he has maybe about, let's say, 15 minutes to load an entire 18 wheeler, and they time you. Wow. So efficiency became the standard for setting goals. How efficient is the way that you load that truck for either FedEx, UPS, or whomever? Frank and Lillian Gilbreth developed the principles of motion economy, theory that every job can be broken down into a series of elementary motions. That's FedEx. That's UPS. Scientific management viewed people largely as machines that needed properly programming. Oh, wow, wow. Are we living in that time now? They've taken people out of the equation and now they put AI there. Good example. I just talked about UPS. UPS tells drivers how to get out of their trucks. I just covered this. Wow. This is coincidental. I wasn't expecting this next slide to pop up. How fast to walk, how many packages to pick up and deliver per day, and even how to hold their keys. Oh my God. Either I remember this slide from before, or I just remember it just being so, to me, anal. It's seriously, I mean, I know there is efficiency that every company wants, but I don't know if I could live with being robotic. Every single thing that they're taught they have to do. Are you stressed? Warning signs when you can see employees are stressed. Negative attitudes about work, big time. When they don't want to go to work, especially, you know what? Statistics show that the majority of heart attacks happen on Mondays when people have to leave the weekend energy and get the Monday morning energy. Heart attacks occur. That's why I say you have to work in a job that you have a passion. Chase your passion, chase your dream. I have a assignment in my Business 120 class, it's face to face, and you have this in this class as well, where I want you to show me what your dream jobs are. Because I think if you put your dream jobs, let's in a PowerPoint, and you go through the rigmarole supposedly of going from point A to point Z to accomplish your goal, that dream may come to fruition. If you never write down your dreams, you won't know how to actually take them step by step. Create benchmarks. For example, I'd like to have my own talk show again. So the first thing I need to start doing is networking again with local talk shows, maybe creating a podcast, um, writing some scripts. So I don't have a lot of stress because the job that I'm doing right now, I absolutely love. Chronic lateness. People who are late all the time, you know they're stressed. They don't want to go to work. Absenteeism. When you see you have an employee who's always out every Friday, they're going to Vegas. They don't want to be at work. Careless with details. I had a lot of employees when I worked at one of the community colleges when I was the supervisor, and I just kept finding so many mistakes. We had a lot of employees we had to let them go because they were doing kind of catastrophic mistakes, budgeting wise. Withdrawal from coworkers. I see a lot of people eating lunch by themselves. They're away from their desk, but they're away from, let's say, trying to interact with their coworkers. I think it's important because when you have that cohesion in the workplace, you want to help each other out. I've seen people smile and laugh when someone fails. Oh my gosh, you missed that deadline. Well, we knew that was going to happen. Oh, did you see the way she filed that report? I could have helped her, but no, I don't care for her. Stress, social withdrawal. When you withdraw socially, there's an issue. I probably socialize and talk too much to the people that I work with, from my fellow professors to our support staff, in the dean's office, because I want to make sure that people are okay. I want to make sure they're not stressing. I want to see how I can help them and support them in any endeavor. Now, how to help with stress? Reach out to coworkers, family, and friends for support. Just ask people how they're doing. I got several people that I'm always checking in on. You know how it is? Let me check in on this person because all they want to do is to be heard and express what's going on in their lives and hear a little compassion. Like, you know what? I feel you. You want to go to lunch, or you want to do something? Let's go jogging, or let's go play some tennis. Get your friends out of their stress zone and take them in a whole different environment. That changes a lot. Make time for exercise. Choose healthy foods. Focus on positive thinking. People always ask me, "Kel, why are you always in a good mood?" Honestly, I just choose to be in a good mood. I could be in a bad mood, But what? This amount of energy I expend being in a bad mood, I could use being in a good mood. That's just my philosophy. Um, Plan regular breaks. If you're in your office, take the breaks that they offer you. 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, get your lunch breaks on. I see people who are so stressed on deadlines that they don't take any breaks. And by law, we're supposed to take a lunch break and so forth. Labor law comes into play. Use the labor law card and say, hey, by labor law, I need you to take a break. I need you to go to lunch for an hour. Come back and be refreshed. The work's still going to be here. And then you may have a whole different, perspective when you come back, like, I got a better idea on how to do this task. That's how you deal with stress. I'm speaking from you being the employer to the employees or employees to fellow employees. Develop a consistent sleep schedule. I'm, for myself, I try to be in bed no later than 11 p.m. I just know I can't be effective after midnight. That's just me. And then prioritize your task. What's going to happen first? What you need to do in your workspace? I had one coworker, and she just admitted to me that she gets overwhelmed when she has more than 2 to 3 tasks to do. She doesn't know which one she should prioritize. And that's normal if you haven't been trained. If you don't have the background or you don't have the skills, then you need to reach out and say, hey, I need some help. I've got 10 different things to do today. I don't know which one to do first. Ask for help. Elton Mayo and the Hawthorne studies, research studies, worked effectively under different levels of light. I have a coworker who she can't come to work because the fluorescent lights give her headaches. That's a medical, let's say, situation. So either we can fix those lights or we have to do something that she can actually maybe work from home. These are some of the studies that they talk about that are really affecting people's motivation. Productivity increases regardless of light conditions if it's not a medical disorder. Researchers also decided it was a human or psychological factor at play. Hawthorne effect, the tendency for people to act differently when they know they are being studied. Wow, something to think about. Hawthorne studies also, little did Elton May and his research team from Harvard University know that their work would forever change managers' beliefs about employee motivation. Their research at the Hawthorne plant for Western Electric in Cicero, Illinois, gave birth to the concept of human-based motivation by showing that employees behave differently simply because they are involved in planning and executing the experiments. Wow. They're more interested. They're more excited. Maslow, one of my favorites, hierarchy of needs. This is something that I live by. The theory of motivation based on the unmet human needs, from basic philosophical needs to safety, social, and esteem needs to self actualization needs. Believe motivation arises from need. Needs that have already been met do not motivate. If a need is filled, another higher level need emerges. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And here's the hierarchy. Here's the actual hierarchy here. So you actually have the physiological, where you are, your needs. You need to be somewhere to live, to be comfortable. Safety needs, you have to be safe. You have to be safe. I have my a godson who works with the homeless. He has his master's degree in social work, and he actually says that a lot of the homeless, their hierarchy of needs is first of all, where they're living. Can they get a house? Secondly, can they be safe where they're going to be living at? So if it's the homeless are having that situation, you are as a person who's not homeless. We have social needs. Maslow believes in the hierarchy of needs. You need all of these to achieve your self-actualization. Esteem needs, you need self-esteem. I told a lot of students over the years that the self-esteem is important because it's you. It's how you feel about yourself. Self-esteem is you. I had a friend years ago and they said, oh, okay, you got divorced and oh, now you seem like you're not going to be as motivated and look like she took your self-esteem. I said, no, no one took my self-esteem. Self-esteem is what I feel about myself, the way I actualization of who I am. So that's something you should always remember. Self-esteem is always you. Frederick Hertzberg research asks, what creates enthusiasm for workers and makes them work to their fullest potential. If we can solve that, then we're going to have some amazing workers. What makes them enthusiastic? I told you what I am. I'm just giddy when I'm on time. I'm excited when I finish a task. That's me. That's what I'm enthusiastic about. I like to um, train people. I like to entertain people. So, Hertzberg found content factors were most important to workers. Workers like to feel they contribute to the company. I like that. You see something that can change in the company. Are you comfortable enough to go up to your supervisor, your manager, and say, hey, I think this will work better. I think we should do this instead of this. Job environment factors maintain satisfaction. But it does not motivate employees. So job environment factors maintain satisfaction, but it does not always motivate employees. In other words, there has to be something else that's going to motivate employees, not just the environmental factors, I should say. Hertzberg motivation factor again continued. Motivators are jobs factors that cause employees to be productive and that give them satisfaction. One of the motivators is there, and hygiene factors. Wow. Job factors that can cause dissatisfaction if missing, but that do not necessarily motivate employees if increased. Something to think about. So, motivators: work itself, achievement, recognition, responsibility, growth, and advancement. These factors can be used to motivate your workers. Hygiene, maintenance factors. This is something that a lot of companies don't think about. They really don't think about the fact that hygiene plays a big factor. So these factors can cause dissatisfaction, but changing them will have little motivation. Company policy and administration, supervision, working conditions, interpersonal relationships with coworkers, salary, status, and jobs. Something I learned years ago in human resources, I worked for about 3 years in human resources, is we tell people, please don't discuss your salary. Please don't tell other folks how much you get paid, because then you have a comparison going on. And people are like, well, I do the same job that she does. Why does she get more money? Or I'm always on time. Why is this person making another $100 more a day than I do? It's so many factors behind the scenes that you don't know. The person can have more degrees than you. The person can have more job experience. It's so much, but that creates hostility, and your motivation basically goes away. I'm not going to do any extra work because the person who comes in late on time is still making the same money I'm making. So I'm gonna do what she does. I'll come in late, or I will just take longer breaks. So you have to figure out how to motivate your employees by first of all telling them, don't talk about your pay, don't talk about your salary, don't talk about your status. So Maslow again talks about the attribution, and it's a comparison, and it gives you an idea of what the differences are when you compare both theories. So as you can see, that is going to conclude my mini lecture for Chapter 9, Motivating Employees. I always want you to remember, continue looking at the rest of the PowerPoint, also look at the videos, and please look at the textbook. Read Chapter 9 in the textbook. And a lot of the content for our quizzes, discussion questions, and so forth come out of the textbook and the PowerPoints that you see in Canvas. All right, with that said, folks, let's go ahead and move into Chapter 10. Thank you very much for listening.